Okay. Danny's here. Freeze, are you in?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. How you doing, Freeze? Is everything all right?
Oh, yeah, it's fine.
You sound a little down.
Just frustrated.
Okay. About the AR, or is it?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay.
I'm just, trying to trying to work idiots through something over the phone that is just so simple, but trying to explain it to someone is just irritating.
So how is your father? I'm just kidding. On this episode of the John 1911 podcast, the Kenosha Kid, fiery but mostly peaceful. H&K is back in black, and we bought the Wilson pistol. Okay, good morning, everybody. This is Danny, Marky, and Freeze, and this is episode 184 of the John 1911 podcast. So, how's everybody doing so far today?
I'm good.
I'm really good. It seems the high 90 heat finally broke.
It is starting to turn here. It's soaking wet here at the armory. It's been probably raining over at Freeze's as well. Is it rain over there?
It did rain. It's not raining at the moment.
Yeah, so it's I don't think it's raining here now as well. So, but I'll tell you what. Actually, I've noticed this, Freeze. The John 1911 range is far enough away from the armory that the weather patterns can be significantly different. As far as like, oh, we're going to get rain. It's like, well, you better check the range, because I've literally been at the range and looked over at the armory in that direction and seen storms, off in a distance, and like, man, it's not even going to hit us over here. So, just a data point I've noted. It seems like a lot of stuff turns and hooks, and it'll either hook above us or below us, which means it'll cut between us and the range. So that's a good thing to keep in mind if you're planning your schedule. Just I've noticed it this year, if you're going out there doing stuff. So,
I'm right on top of the river valley. So anything that most weather that comes past the range is either going to cut north or south to me anyway.
Yeah. So we have pretty interesting weather patterns here. Like, you don't like the weather in Cincinnati, just wait 4 hours. So I mean, it can be crazy. So
yeah.
All right. Well, let me drink some coffee, and I guess we'll get this thing started. Freeze is a little frustrated this morning. He had to phone diagnose an AR-15 issue for somebody, and he is super frustrated because I guess it's hard to do that long distance without pointy talkie. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into some of the stuff that we're gonna talk about here, because obviously Wisconsin or whatever the hell is going up there is going to dominate this podcast. So here's a podcast exclusive for people who will learn it here if they listen to this podcast first, as opposed to when we publish stuff on the website or publish it on YouTube or whatever. We have officially, the John 1911 Armory has officially purchased the Wilson EDC X9L pistol that has been featured quite a bit on our social media. So, I guess at some point Bill Wilson goes, "Hey, whatever happened to that gun?" and they're like, "Marky has it." It's like, well, is Marky going to pay for it, or is he going to give it back? So we went ahead and we told Wilson they weren't allowed to have it back, and we purchased it yesterday. And it is an expensive gun, so they didn't give us the gun to keep, so we did buy it. So if people think that we're shilling or whatever, so and I guess that was never really clear, but that thing has been so impressive for me as far as high capacity 1911s. I've decided to make it and keep it my main carry gun. So just kind of like old business to kind of get it off the to-do list, and you'll be seeing more stuff with it. It's not going away. There'll be more out there, and No, we still have not found Freeze's 9mm 1911. I haven't actually been looking this week. I've been so busy. So, but apparently he's got his eye on the Ed Brown single stack in the Armory. So apparently I have to self-insure.
Well, look, one way or another, I'm coming home with a 9mm 1911.
Yeah. So yeah. So
hey, just throwing that out there.
It's interesting to see in the industry how guns. I mean, you don't mean to say it like this, but it's true. Gun people don't want to hear it, but much like, say, the fashion industry or the clothing industry, like, oh, the skirts are shorter this year in Milan or something. You see guns coming in and out of style, and we are definitely seeing a resurgence of a duty 1911 and 9mm all throughout the industry. We're really starting to see an interest in that. And, we've noticed it around here as well. And that is obviously why Wilson, in particular, made the double stack EDC X9L. Basically, it's their 2011 alternative gun. Hashtag 2011 alternative if you want to look for it on Instagram. Maybe the night. I mean, so here's a question: it's a loaded question. I feel like I'm afraid if I ask this on a forum, people would just explode. Is the 1911 coming back?
No.
Yes.
I'm just gonna,
No, I don't. It's not coming back. I mean, look, the 1911 is always going to be out there. It's always going to be popular, and guys are always going to shoot it. It's not coming back as a duty weapon. I mean, I'm not saying hell. There's LEs out there right now that carry 1911s, and that's fine. But it's never going to surpass the Glock or the SIG striker-fired polymer guns. I mean, as far as the wave of the future goes. And as far as marketing sales with Joe Sixpack out there, Joe Sixpack is not all of a sudden going to start gobbling up 1911s over Glocks and SIGs and M&Ps and standard polymer striker-fired guns. That's why I say no. It's not coming back. I mean, it's never been away. It's always been there. But I mean, it's not going to come back as a primary main either civilian gun for purchase. It's never going to dominate the sales market, and it's not going to for law enforcement agencies. It's not going to come back as a dominant firearm for them either. The day of the 1911 is basically over.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, that has certainly been the case for a long time. And I haven't really seriously looked at the 1911 as a working gun in about 2000 since about 2008 or 2009. So what, 12 years. But I've noticed, I have noticed a significant interest in 9mm high, I guess it's a loaded statement, high capacity 1911s, high capacity relative to not being a single stack, in quite a few circles. SWAT teams are picking them up. I noticed a lot of the competitive shooters, I've noticed a lot of them have been going away from, say, the Glock 34, 35, and say even some of the HK guns, and they're going into some of these super custom 2011 guns because they shoot them better. And it's just interesting to see, like one of the big kicks, the two big kicks against the 1911, the number one huge kick was obviously capacity. Well, really the number one huge kick is price and maintenance. But the capacity, really hurts the 1911. But, a lot of people are coming up with neat tricks to make, to make them more reliable. And with 9mm double stacks, the Wilson one is fantastic.
And that's great. But the reality is they're not going to dominate the market.
Well, what's dominate mean?
Well, I mean,
like I agree with you. Like, is a major police department.
No, look,
like let's say mid-sized city in America that has 1,000 police officers. The chances that they're going to come out and say our new duty weapon is a 1911 is basically zero.
Yeah,
that will never happen. So I agree with you. That will never happen again.
But if you look at percentages,
but I think 1911 sales are probably on the upswing.
I don't know that.
Why are all these factories reinventing the 1911 if there wasn't an uptick in interest?
There seems to be.
I
mean, again, uptick relative to itself. So again, Freeze is correct. Like when I say uptick, and when we say uptick in interest or increase of sales, it doesn't. It doesn't even hold a candle to how many SIG P365s they've sold.
I mean, look,
like 1 million of them or something.
Look, Kimber, Dan Wesson, Ed Brown, Wilson, all those guys, they've been making 1911s for forever. That's what they make. And that's fine, and they're always making them. And look at Kimber. Kimber sells a lot of 1911s a year, a lot of them.
Oh my God!
But
it used to be 75,000 a year.
No, I'm not saying 1911s aren't selling. I'm just saying if you start looking at percentages, I don't think that the 1911 market, whether it be 45, 40, 9 millimeter, 50 Beowulf or 88 millimeter. I don't see a huge insurgence of 1911s over what the market already sells annually is all I'm saying.
Yeah, you know what? I think you're right. I think what I'm seeing is I agree with that statement. So we have to make sure we're having the same conversation. And I think we're in the danger of not having the same conversation. I am not saying that, because the reality is the real growth as far as quote duty pistols over the next 10 years is going to be the SIG P320. Because the M18, M19 duty pistol, let's be real here, for the United States Army, for the Department of Defense, that will trickle down into the civilian market. It'll trickle down into the law enforcement market, and it'll trickle down into various agencies' markets. The fact Glock, like the FBI is still running Glock, and a lot of people it's still a battle between Glock and SIG is definitely coming on strong. That 320 is going to be the real, major money maker as far as growth, because you can even get it with a thumb safety. But the reason I mentioned the thumb safety is I have noticed in the I would call him the cool guy. I don't mean that derogatory. I do not mean that as a slight or to be derogatory, but I call them the Illuminati of the firearms instructor people, the younger ones, the Illuminati guys. So a lot of them, because a lot of people carry appendix now, which in the old days we used to call cross draw, which was very similar to appendix. A lot of those people, young people under 40, have been really reevaluating how much they like having a frame-mounted safety on a gun that they're shoving into the front of their pants and trying to draw from concealment and reholster. And the 1911 is a gun that does that very well because it's got the thumb safety.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
I've noticed that.
Anytime you're shoving the end of a barrel right over your dick, it's kind of a nice feature. Because again, I was carrying what the cool kids call appendix back when it was called Mexican. I'm not trying, and again, that's why, again, it was not a compliment. Some cool kid gun instructor would see the way that I would carry on the street, and they would just be like, "You fucking idiot. You're going to get your gun taken from you." That's literally what they would say. You're going to get your gun taken from you. And it's just like, whatever, dude.
Now they're all realizing in crowds or groups of people, a gun forward to the hips, you're less likely to get it taken from you. And like, oh, if you're gonna carry Mexican or carry cross-draw or carry appendix, the argument would be you're talking to, like, a traffic stop, you're talking to a guy in his car, he could reach out and take your gun. Again, that's not why you would carry that way. You'd more carry low profile or undercover. But I've noticed there's been a swing back away from the cool guy. The cool guys used to all carry gunslinger 3 o'clock. And then it started to turn into, more of a cross draw. Now they call it appendix. We have better holsters, a lot like the cowboy guys used to carry, like the real gunfighters. A lot of carry guns forward to the hips, reloads even, second guns. And now I'm seeing a lot of the cool guys reevaluate striker guns with no external safeties and realizing, that they like having those safeties. And it's not that you need a safety to draw a gun or to holster a gun or shoot a gun. You're not safer carrying the gun. The reality is, if you are a person who shoots a lot and you're a person who wants to achieve a level of skill, you have to do stuff over and over and over and over again. And that became a pain point for me with the VP9 gun in particular, because I have to draw and then reholster that gun in a training session nonstop. And statistically speaking, having an accident, the biggest skill you can learn as a civilian, and want to defend yourself with a handgun, is being able to being able to clear a garment, draw a handgun from a holster. The most dangerous thing a civilian's ever going to do, most likely, is not going to be in a gunfight in Wisconsin with a bunch of communists. The most dangerous thing most people will ever do with a gun, and it's extremely dangerous, is reholster your gun. That is the most dangerous thing you can do. And it's more people are shot. Far more people are shot reholstering a gun than are shot by police, probably. Maybe. I think that would be an interesting stat. Most accidents with guns, a lot of them can happen regarding holster work. And having external safety, I've noticed the young guys are starting to really reevaluate that.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I mean,
well, look at it like this.
I'm used to having guns with external safeties.
I know all of us older guys are, but think about this. Okay, think about this. A lot of people will make an argument to fit their reality, not necessarily the best argument to solve a problem. And I remember for 20 years, all we heard was, remember the phrase Glock leg? Remember that there was a derogatory phrase. You would have, typically be a police officer there, when Glocks are being incorporated into duty use, you had, there would be accidents, and it was always the same problem. People would put their finger on the trigger when they're holstering their gun or not holstering their gun or drawing their gun. And, you'd have like some agency, they shot themselves. Some guy shot himself in the leg. Or I remember a woman, like maybe it's in Kentucky, she shot herself in the leg and injured somebody else in the squad or in the locker room. And Glock got sued for this. And Glock, their opinion was, that's why Glock came out. Our gun has all these safeties on it. It's got a drop safety. It's got the firing pin, it's a drop safe firing pin block. It's got the trigger dingus, the trigger blade block. And, they all emphasize how many safeties are on a Glock. And the reason they made that argument is because that's the gun that they had. I wonder 10 years from now, because I wonder 10 years from now, you get a bunch of guys that served in the military and they've got SIG M18 M19s, the 320 with the thumb safety. How many people 10 years, 15 years from now that are in positions of leadership in law enforcement agencies, and they have the ability to influence command staff decisions on gun selection, will say, I want you to choose a P320 with a thumb safety? I do wonder. I wonder about that. I think that 320 thumb safety right now is not very good. It's not very ergonomic. But maybe Wilson, or maybe somebody. I guarantee you, there's people out there working very hard to change that thumb safety.
Oh, I guarantee you there is. I guarantee it. And that's an interesting question. I mean, we're kind of coming out of a, we'll just call it like the Glock phase, where the Glock was the industry standard. And now with the 320, as the 320 gains momentum and more popularity, and if the 320 does start dominating Glock, we might be revolving right back into a thumb safety as a standard issue.
It is interesting. And having the major service pistol, because we've seen this before, having the major service pistol be the, I don't know what that noise is, but y'all better stop it. Is someone eating chips? What is that?
Not me.
I'm not eating.
Okay.
I'm not seeing anything.
I don't know. I'm hearing something. So the major service pistol standard is, was the M9 Beretta with that slide mounted thumb safety.
That thing sucked.
And which sucked, right?
Oh yeah, big time sucked.
That sucked. That sucked. But here's the thing: it didn't matter that it sucked. What mattered was it was the standard. A lot of departments will look at that and go, monkey see, monkey do. It's good enough for the Army. It's good enough for me. And then like LAPD and a bunch of police departments, they chose the M9 as a standard. Well, I think people are realizing that, frame-mounted thumb safeties in general seem to be coming back, because now that, the Army wanted a thumb safety on their gun. Glock didn't really have a good solution. They didn't really give one for the Army. And SIG won that contract, and they've got thumb safeties on their guns, which you can remove. After Beretta lost that contract, all of a sudden, whammo blammo, they start coming out with frame-mounted thumb safeties on Beretta 92s, like they've got the what's the one, the big silver one, JJ Ricasa, 92 X
Performance or something like that.
Yeah. There's the 92X, which has a slide-mounted safety. But the X Performance has a frame-mounted safety, and chances are, by next SHOT Show, Beretta will start making 92s with aluminum frames and frame-mounted thumb safeties, because that's what the market wants.
And they should. I mean, they should do it. I mean, it'd be a good seller.
Mm-hmm. It would be. But it's, if, a rising tide raises all boats. And I've noticed that a thumb safety, frame-mounted thumb safety, seems to be possibly helping the 1911.
I would have to see 1911 sales for, well, I don't know if comparing 2020 gun sales to 2019 gun sales is a good thing or not, because with all the, I mean, this is such a weird year. I mean, but
how many people bought a Bursa pistol because they have to, not because they want to?
Exactly. Like, exactly. I mean, so 2020 gun sales is nothing to compare anything to, because I mean, if you had an old RG Saturday night special from the 50s, it sold. I mean, everything was.
Yeah. I mean, hey, you know what? Side note: if you if you get somebody with beer goggles on and you light it just right, an RG revolver and a Korth revolver from that same era look eerily similar. Just there's a story there, but
ouch.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah. A $15 revolver versus a $1,500 revolver.
Well, you know what? Quality wise, they're probably about the same. I just pissed off a lot of Korth guys.
Yeah, there's only one Korth guy in America, and he is a raging asshole. He is a raging asshole. if I tag Korth in this podcast, he will show up in somewhere and start basically what he'll do is he will start shitting on Smith and insert whatever revolver you want. He'll be like, it's no Korth. All he does is just run around and just pick fights with people because Korth is his favorite.
And
gun.
he's right. It is no Korth because the Smith and Wessons are better.
Yeah, they are better.
So I mean, hey, look, it's guys like that. You're not going to change their opinion, and I don't ever try to argue to change their opinion because it's not worth the aggravation. It's not worth the fight. It's not worth your time.
Yeah.
If you like something and you're okay, like this Wilson gun, if you're now, Mr. Wilson, okay, cool. I'm not going to sit there and argue and say, well, Wilson's no Ed Brown because, okay, that argument's not going to matter to you because you're the Wilson guy. So why waste my time? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
that brings up a good point, and this kind of circles back to the 1911, and it circles back to like for me, like the Blaser rifles, or say, for you, I mean, like what is it like guns you really like? Like you like the like you like Mossberg 500s, you like
hello
Dan,
I don't know what the heck
but
happened.
So I've noticed if there's a gun that you like, regardless of what the cool kids say, if you like a gun and you believe a gun and you have confidence in that gun, you're more likely to train with it more. You're more likely to practice with it more. You're more likely to pay attention to how it works and master it. And overall, that makes you a better shooter.
Sure.
So an extreme example would be if you had a guy out there who is he is just like Mr. High Point. Like, I don't know. Like, let's say
Mr. RG Revolver, but
okay, Mr. RG Revolver, and he shoots them. He knows how often he has to take them into the pits to put new tires on them and gas them up, and he will be a better shooter with his RG Revolver that he is totally invested in than he would be with a gun he just like, yeah, whatever. And I think that's a lot of people. They you need to respect that.
Yeah.
If some guy loves a 1911 and he shoots it all the time, it gets him shooting. That's going to make him a better shooter when he's out in Kenosha, Washington, fighting off the commies.
Yeah.
Than some gun he doesn't care about.
I know. I agree. So, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just, but to circle back to the point, just 9mm 1911s to me right now are so interesting and so fun. And I just think I missed that entire, I guess probably about 5, 6, 7 years ago, or maybe longer. Like Wilson was changing the mags. More people started making 9mm 1911s. And, making 9mm work in a 1911 is hard. I mean, there's some issues there. And I was so thoroughly impressed with this EDC X9L gun. Like, this thing runs like a monster. This thing is crazy fun. Like, I wish I had this gun 15 years ago. And it's making me re-look at, like, maybe even traditional 1911s, the 9mm. Like, I don't know. It's just, that's what interests me right now.
Yeah.
And, if I had to choose between carrying a shield, how many rounds does a shield hold for you?
8 plus 1, I think.
Yeah. I mean, if I had to choose between carrying a shield with 8 rounds of 9mm or a single stack 1911, Commander, or even a 5-inch with 9 or 10 rounds of 9mm, I'd probably just carry the single stack 1911 because I shoot it better. It recoils better. I enjoy shooting it better. Mm-hmm. I'd rather just carry that than carry the shield. Not that my way's the right way, but it's about interest.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Hey, in shocking news, we'll go ahead and get off me ranting about 9mm 1911s. we don't have to talk about it, but apparently H&K in Europe is now no longer losing money. It was reported this morning that their latest quarterly reports or whatever their financial books were released, that H&K may no longer be in danger of going kaput. So I wonder how much of that can be attributed to them finally selling guns in the U.S. that people want.
It probably has a lot to do with it.
They came out with an MP5 pistol that they call the SP5. They've got the long slide VP9s. They've got the optics cut VP9s. They've got the push button VP9s. They've what else were they bringing? Something I can't remember. There was something else they were talking about doing. Wait till they start bringing in G3s in or HK91s. Everybody's making these guns except for H&K, and people, all the H&K nerds would all buy one. They don't have to make it a permanent addition to their catalog, but it's like money they're leaving on the table. Because we said years ago, H&K as a company, business-wise, how they run their company is criminal. They just piss money away left and right. All this opportunity, they just let their competitors just eat them alive. The fact that H&K lets people in the U.S. make a ton of money selling H&K copies of guns that H&K no longer will make into the U.S. or bring to the U.S. while H&K is going broke. That's just you got to come into the boardroom at H&K with a samurai sword and start chopping heads off. It's just that is like business school 101 retardation crap. Yeah, and it looks like H&K's finally has some adults in the boardroom, but I think they're all in Belgium, not Germany. That's probably why. So I just thought that was good news. Hey, Freeze, would you be interested in buying FN AR-15 barrels? Because they're now selling them on the open market.
No.
No,
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't buy an FN barrel for a build?
No. Look, if it was at a decent price, yeah, but there's a lot of great barrels out there that are, yeah. Why would I pick an FN barrel over a Faxin barrel?
I think Faxin is the unfair comparison because Faxin has come out of Faxin has become such a big standard, and and kudos to Bob Faxin. They were nobody, and who are these people? And they're making barrels, and they just worked, and people want to buy their, but I would rate probably, I would expect an FN barrel to do better than a factory, say, I don't know who, I would choose an FN barrel over Colt barrel all day.
Yeah, I would, but I wouldn't buy a Colt barrel.
Who makes barrels for companies because you're into this market, like the Ares guns and all, people that build ARs. What kind of, are they putting Faxin barrels on? Who else what's the alternative to Faxin? What are those kids?
Well, let's see. Okay, so here's where you get into the issue. Aero Precision is probably the number one barrel that people buy.
Aero makes barrels?
Well, they sell Aero Precision barrels. That's where I was going to say, this is where you get into the problem. Does Aero actually make their own barrels? I don't know if they do. But when people go, oh, I'm going to do a build and I'm buying an Aero barrel, I know Faxin makes their own barrels. I don't know if Aero Precision makes their own barrels. But who does make them?
Faxin makes them for Aero.
Who could make them? And this is a lot of AR guys are going to hate this.
I already know what you're going to say.
Anderson Manufacturing makes fucking barrels. And do they make the barrel? Yes, they do. So, do they make barrels and does Arrow buy Anderson barrels and put their mark on it? Or, I don't know.
There's a lot of that in the gun world, a lot of that in the 1911 world, and there's no reason to expect that doesn't happen in the AR-15 world.
Yep.
Because everybody's making the same kind of parts within certain specs. If you're mil spec, if you're working off the same technical data package, in theory, you should be able to buy each other's products and OEM the mark. So, I just thought that was, like FN was not a company. I was just surprised that, FN was doing that. So.
And look, and like I said, I'm not going to shit on FN barrels or anything. I'm not going to say they're bad barrels. I wouldn't pay, look, I'm not going to pay FN premiums for an FN barrel when I can get a barrel that's just as good.
Well, isn't Faxin sold as a premium though? I would not expect an FN barrel would be more than Faxin barrel.
Well, I don't know. How much do we know how much FN barrels are going for?
Oh, I can't even.
I
just thought it was interesting.
Okay, so like,
Well, look, here's the thing. I don't build rifles, and I generally don't pay attention to those kinds of parts. You do. So I just saw the data point, and I was like, oh, how much is one of their barrels? I don't need. The only reason I would buy an FN barrel is if I shot out a barrel on an FN gun.
Yeah. Well, I get you there. I totally get you there. Okay.
I'm saying is I'm not the guy to ask. I guess I didn't really care that much.
Okay, so.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. We need to move on anyway because we gotta.
Well, let me just say
Danny has a hard.
If an FN barrel's over $200 for like say a standard 16-inch 5.56 NATO, barrel, if it's over $200, then absolutely it would be totally out of the equation because I can buy a lot of quality barrels for under $200.
All right, I guess you're gonna make me do this. What is the? Oh, come on! Don't give me the pop-up, you crazy asshole. Oh well, okay, all righty. So FN barrel, cold hammer forged, carbine length, 16-inch barrel,
mid-length gas port.
This is carbine length. Carbine length is 259. It was normally 299.
Okay.
Let's see. Rifle length, 20-inch barrel. They're 206. They're let's find a mid-length. A mid-length 16-inch barrel FN. There's your answer. They're selling them at $199. They're normally $235, but they're selling them at $199, and they're out of stock. So
okay, I can buy a 16-inch 5.56 mid-length barrel from Faxin for $175. So why would I buy an FN barrel over Faxin? Yeah,
you know what? You're right. You're right, especially because you could drive over there and get it.
There is that, yes. But
yeah.
And does FN make a better barrel than Faxin? I don't know. Some people would say yes. Some people would say no. But
I bet FN makes a better chrome-line machine gun barrel than Faxin could make. I bet Faxin would disagree with that. But chrome lining a barrel is kind of a big deal if you're running a belt-fed machine gun, and FN makes that, and I bet Faxin does not. So it depends on, if you're listening to this, you got to realize different strokes for different folks and different needs.
Yeah. But I'm not going to be buying a chrome line machine gun barrel either. So,
okay.
But
okay, Danny, let's get into it because you've been super quiet, and I guess where do you want to start with the insurrection of the commies? Pick a front. You want to do the Eastern Front? You want to do the Western Front?
Well,
you want to do, is it the Pacific Theater or is it the East? Is it the West Coast Theater or the East Coast Theater? Is it the Canadian Theater
or the Midwest? Well,
the Midwest?
Well, actually, this relates back to the AR. That kid in Wisconsin had a bone stock AR, so I really don't think he gave a damn what barrel he was running.
Oh, dude, that's a good point. I saw a meme. We'll have to post it because I didn't pay attention to his gun. But you look at it, I think he had a DPMS AR-15 was stock, like a $400 gun. I think they said it was a sight mark red dot, and the meme said something like the first kid to actually
start the revolution,
No, he didn't say revolution, but it was like the first kid to actually fight against the communist insurgency in the U.S. did it with a bone stock DPMS with a sight mark rifle or sight mark red dot, while the booze, or the what do you call them, the basically the soft body booze boys are running around with $5,000 kit, and it was like, ouch! It was like, ouch!
I saw that meme, and I thought it was
appropriate.
I thought it was pretty good. The other meme I saw was a picture of him, and below it said Kyle the Kenosha Kid.
Oh my God! I tell you what, I've already thought about this last night. Today is August 29th. It is 11:09 a.m. By the end of September, you will see people on YouTube with gun channels recreating that kid's shooting as drills, and it'll be called the Kenosha Kid drill or the one. I guarantee you.
Well,
ready.
There's quite a lot of happenings. The kid lives maybe 15 minutes from Wisconsin on the Illinois side. The Illinois judge ruled in the kid's favor at least until September 25th not to be extradited to Wisconsin.
Yeah, I just think they delayed his hearing because they wanted a motion because they needed time. They weren't going to have that was that was, Your Honor. They come in, they set a date. He gets arrested. They set a court date. The kid gets counsel. Counsel goes into court and goes, Your Honor, we just got this case. We need to work up. We have to look at the charges, look at the facts. We need to do something. We need more time. Can you kick this down on the calendar? And that's pro forma. If they didn't do that, it would be grounds for a mistrial right off the bat.
I actually heard today that Lynn Wood guy who represented Nick Sandman has taken up his case.
Yes, I heard that too, that he's got a plethora of high-profile lawyers. Not only that, I guess his legal defense fund is growing by the thousands by the hour.
Where is his legal defense fund? Because I heard one of the big GoFundMe one of those places pulled it down.
Really?
Like where is it now? Like,
as of this morning, it was a GoFundMe. I haven't looked after that.
Okay, so what's this kid's name? I'm gonna look it up right now. You guys, what's this kid's name?
Kyle Rittenhouse.
Kyle Rittenhouse. Okay, talk amongst yourselves.
So, and
don't talk about porn.
No. Do you know of any other high-profile attorneys other than the guy who defended Sandman?
I have to look into it more, but as of today, just what I seen with the GoFundMe page was quite interesting of people that are donating.
Okay. So Danny, I have an update here. Danny, did you see it at a GoFundMe page or are you using that like Kleenex versus tissue?
No, I just read it on Facebook that there was a GoFundMe set up.
Okay. Well, all right. Because I just want to be clear here because I have found a raise money for Kyle Rittenhouse legal defense. It's on a website called GiveSendGo.com.
Heard of it.
This is Christian crowdfunding. It's like, okay, let me give you the numbers. It's got a blue line flag in the description. The defending himself, Antifa, DACMs. Let's give back to someone who bravely defended his community, and donations can be anyway. They have raised $158,710 out of a goal of Wow. Now, wait a minute. Campaign created by the Friends of Rittenhouse family in Atlanta, Georgia. So here's my question for the listener at home. Be careful when you're giving money. Make sure if you want to give money to Kyle Rittenhouse, make sure you are actually giving money to Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yeah.
If you need to, if his lawyer is Lynn Wood, and Lynn Wood's, off the top of my head, Lynn Wood's firm is based in Nevada or Las Vegas, I believe. I would probably ping off of a Lynn Wood website. If they give a link to somebody that's raising money, just be very, very careful. Just don't be giving money like you saw it on Facebook or whatever. Be careful. So, all right. So let's talk about Kyle, Danny. I guess the first question we need to ask is, because you were talked about this. The kid lives in Illinois. Kenosha, Wisconsin is Wisconsin, right? It's in Wisconsin,
Correct.
Right? But apparently he only lives about 15 miles from Kenosha. Is that correct?
Correct. It's like from where we had dinner to the border.
So actually, we were closer to the border than that. So for the listener at home, just so they know, John 1911, we're based in Cincinnati, Ohio. That's, our major metropolitan area. We're Cincinnati. I personally live about 15 miles from the city of Cincinnati. So I say I live in Cincinnati. Do I live in Cincinnati? Would you say, how dare you, say you live in Cincinnati? The post office, you put Cincinnati on it. I guess my point is there's two arguments on this kid. The number one argument, and we have to be intellectually honest here, Freeze, because we criticized the Bundys when they crossed the border and went up into that place up in, maybe was it Oregon or something?
Yeah.
Like they left Nevada or Utah, wherever they were at, but they went way, 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 way far away. The counter to that argument would be that this kid still kind of lived in the metro area of Kenosha.
Yeah.
Like like if you lived in Northern Kentucky, how dare you cross the river and defend Cincinnati from the commies? It's 600 yards.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck you. So, again, I don't know. So,
see, I'm going to criticize the kid anyway.
Yeah, there's a lot to criticize. There is a lot to criticize.
Yeah. Look. I hope he beats the charges. I really do. I truly hope he does. But, the old saying, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Well, that goes for him too. Don't go out of your way to carry an AR-15 to a riot and not expect to end up having to be in court or be in jail.
Yeah.
Look, I know I'm walking on a slippery slope here as far as, what his rights are and, and all that shit. But look, I'm not going to go to the armory, load up, and go downtown to where Black Lives Matter and Antifa are rioting and not expect to be in jail by morning.
Well, here's the narrative.
Go ahead,
the
Danny.
narrative up here that the Democrats are pushing. How dare him cross the state line? He shouldn't be there. He was only 17, which, in fact, a lot of it is true. But someone then asked, well, what about the Democrat narrative of no borders, no fences, no walls?
Well, I'll tell you what, if the kid is 17, he's in a world of fucking trouble because he's not old enough to even have that rifle.
Well, he has restrictions, but it's even more interesting to Danny's point. Okay, because again, that argument that he went over there, he's crossed state lines, he inserted himself into something he's not personally involved in, is well received by me. Mm-hmm. However, the people that want to make that argument also need to be aware that a lot of the people that show up at these riots are the same people that show up at the other riots all across the country because they're traveling like the Grateful Dead or the Dave Matthews Band.
Yeah.
And they're professional rioters. Yeah. And all these fuckers are from out of state too.
Yeah.
So again, if we're going to make these arguments, this is an argument of narrative versus the argument of law. And the kid's got some problems in the argument of law. The kid, surprisingly, seems to be winning the argument of narrative. Thank God for him.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's another thing. Okay, so here's some other questions I have. These are critical questions of Kyle Rittenhouse because I literally don't know that much about it. I've seen video of him up there, and he had his AR-15, and somebody said, "Would you have pepper spray?" or asked if he had something, he had non-lethal, whatever. And he said, and I quote, "We do not have non-lethal options." So here's my question. Who the fuck is we? Because here's my next question. The lawyers are going to want to know this, the defense lawyers and the prosecutors. This kid is 17, all right? He's got a rifle. Whose rifle is it? Is it his rifle? Where did this rifle come from? He crossed state borders with it. How did he end up across state borders? Did he walk? Did he magically teleport? Did he drive a car? Did he own the car? Did somebody drive him across the border? Did somebody communicate with him on Facebook and coordinate with a 17-year-old kid to strap up a rifle and come across the border? Did this kid act alone, or was he with a group of people? Who are these people? What's their motivation? What was their goal? Now, I've heard another comment that the kid said, which is helping him win the narrative, but it makes me ask some questions. There is video of this kid volunteering to provide medical aid to protesters before it went sideways for him. Like protesters had been, I don't know, gassed or sprayed or I don't know what happened to him. He's like, yo. He's like, medic, I'm a medic. I think he said it was a medic, or he was declaring himself as a medical person. Do you need medical aid? And I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
He's 17. Where is he a medic from? Who's the controlling legal authority? I can't remember what his term was, so don't kick me on the internet.
No, maybe
paramedic, EMT. Maybe he what?
Maybe he took first aid in the Boy Scouts.
That's the thing. So all right, he took first aid in the Boy Scouts. Okay, so I guess what I'm trying to figure out here is this kid did not end up in Kenosha in a vacuum, okay? Forget Antifa, forget BLM, forget the Marxists, forget all of that. This kid ended up in that city with that gun, and was he by himself the entire time? Because I saw a video, it looked like he was with other people. Who are these people? Like, so he went up there. Okay, if he went up there by himself, where did he park his car? Where did he use the bathroom? Where does he get water? If he's providing medical aid, where is he getting his medical supplies? If he's providing medical aid, is he doing it on the curb, or is he taking somebody to a medical tent? Like, what's his relationship with all of this? Who are these people? There's a lot of questions that the pro-gun community, our side of the argument, is not asking. That needs to be looked into, because it's going to affect the outcome of the case. And there's another argument he made that's going to hurt him, and I referenced it once already. He said, we do not have non-lethal options. This is before the shooting happened. Now, whether the justification for not having a non-lethal option, he didn't say it. It almost looked declarative. He didn't say it like, "Oh man, we don't have non-lethal." Fuck. What he said was, "We have decided." It sounded like, "We have decided that we are not going to have a non-lethal option." And if I was a prosecutor, and Lynn Wood knows this, there's going to be a lawyer on the other side of the argument going, "Mr. Rittenhouse, whatever his name is, you came into my town with a rifle and decided the only solution you have with your 17-year-old little soft body ass was to shoot people to defend yourself. Because do you have a black belt? Do you ever do MMA? Do you work out? Have you ever even run track? You know, are you physically fit? Are you even healthy enough to walk up a flight of stairs? What led you to believe that you could come up here, insert yourself into this riot, not end up in a fight or an altercation where it has to rise to you having to shoot somebody to defend yourself? And the argument that the prosecutor is going to be making is, on the self-defense thing, Marky, I cannot walk down the street into, I'll use a real example here. I can't walk into the Iron Horseman Biker clubhouse, walk in the middle of that bar, look around and go, which one of you motherfuckers thinks you're man enough to fucking take me? I start getting my ass kicked and I shoot one of them. Do I get to make a self-defense argument there? A lot of people would say no.
Well,
here's what has been posted and the rumors going on around here. First off, they're saying his mother drove him there.
That's good.
Second, they're saying family members of his had a business in Kenosha of which he was going there to help defend. And when he went there to help defend, he hooked up with the militia that was also there.
Okay, so there's 2 points. Okay, if he does have a personal interest, fiduciary or family wise, in Kenosha, he now has standing to be there. He now we can call it the Roof Korean defense.
Yeah.
He is now we can now invoke the Roof Korean clause. If that is true, that will save his ass. So, okay, so next you said militia. Okay, because I don't like the word militia, because I know whoever is saying the word militia doesn't mean it in terms of the Constitution, which means every able-bodied male of military age between, say, the age of 16 and 60. Militia is a loaded word like neocon.
Yeah.
Okay. So who is this militia, Danny?
Mentioned militia were those armed to protect businesses. I don't know who formed the group. I don't know who their grand wizard was or whatever, but supposedly he had hooked up with all these other righteous people to defend the businesses. And how he hooked up, was it a Facebook group? Was it this? Was it that? I don't know. But supposedly that's who he was actually walking down the streets with.
Okay, so let's stop there, because I need to back it up, and let's revisit what you just said. The militia formed to defend the property. All right, because this is the narrative argument here that CNN versus Fox News are going to play. Let's reset this argument and make it at the John 1911 Armory. All right, let's pretend the John 1911 Armory is now in the ground zero in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and we've got all of this shit here. And so I give a full recall to everybody that works or is associated with this armory. Get your ass fucking over here and keep these crazies from getting all these guns. Now, is that now a militia? Or is the media now going to say, if you stand in front of your house, you're a militia, and now you're the same thing as Timothy McVeigh blowing up the federal building?
Yeah.
Or are you a roof Korean? Because no one called roof Koreans militia.
That's
well.
Good
How
point.
how far do you want to define the term?
Well, what I want to do is I don't want the media and the fucking Rhino Republicans and Nikki Haley and fucking CNN to define the term for me. I don't want them to invent a word and then hang it on my neck to make me look bad when all I'm doing is trying to protect me and mine. And it's interesting. I am finding out details about Kyle Rittenhouse right now for the first time live on this podcast that I never knew. And every time I learn a new detail, it seems to get better and better and better for him. So now we're hearing that he may have had an interest up there. That's interesting.
Well,
factual, I don't know about, but that's what has been really sprawling out this morning.
Well, the thing is, right now, how many of these facts are going to change over the next couple of days?
Many of them,
you know.
Course.
So, again, I'm going to hold off any judgment. You know, other than the fact that I think that a 17-year-old kid introducing himself into a riot with an AR-15 is foolish. You know.
Well, you know, it depends. Okay, it depends. You know, like, here's the thing. If it's family, I agree with you, Freeze. At a low bar, you cannot be putting yourself into this kind of bullshit. And I'm going to put it this way for the listener at home. If you do not understand enough to know when it's okay to go out and get involved in stuff and when it's not okay to go out and get involved in stuff. If you honestly, literally are like totally confused, that's fine. Listen to the John 911 podcast. We will tell you when it's time to go out and have your Red Dawn moment. This is not the time. Okay? Now, if this was family and they had an interest or they were invited or there was a call for help or a cry for assistance, friends and family to go over there, 17-year-old boy, like, again, okay, let's say there's a furniture store in the middle of Kenosha, Wisconsin that's somehow associated with this family or their friends. And it's been there for 40 years. And the proprietors of it are in their 60s. And, you know, they have a few people to help them. They have a close friend named Kyle Rittenhouse, who's 17. Okay. Yeah. You telling me, like, hey, dude, we need all the bodies we can get here. You know, the Kyle Rittenhouse, you know, he knows how to run a gun. He's a good kid. Please come over here and stand in front of my store.
Okay, but he wasn't standing in front of the store with 60-year-old grandpa, and he wasn't being a Korean rooftop guy. He was in the streets running with the quote unquote militia. And
I don't know. That's the way it was portrayed, but I don't know if that's true. Now, because we're going to find out the facts, because if he was running the streets, running around, that's going to hurt him. If he was standing a post somewhere or defending the zone, that's going to help him. Freeze is 100% correct. Now,
well, supposedly he was running because they had just thrown a Molotov cocktail at him. And as he was running, he got bashed over the head with a skateboard.
Well, he got bashed over the head. When he got, see, this is where it was all different, and I heard different stories. He shot somebody at a car lot. And initially, it was almost presented like maybe somebody went to a car lot to damage cars, and he shot that person to defend a car that he doesn't own, isn't a part of, and it's like, ooh, that's not going to be good.
No, supposedly the car lot was the family business.
Okay, this is the first I've heard that. Maybe that's super interesting. That's even better. This is every time we fucking talk about this kid, it gets better. But here's the thing. Now there's video of the person that got shot in the head at the car lot was attacking this kid. And the kid was running, and then he turned and shot the guy in the head. And then what he did is he broke contact and was trying to run up the street to where he saw police, and he was being chased. That's the video most people see where he's being chased. He'd already killed one guy at that point. He's being chased, and they caught up with him, and they tripped him and bashed him in the head with a skateboard and chased him with a gun. He had already shot one person at that point.
This is going to come together somehow between innuendo and facts. It's got to play out.
Well, I'm going to hang a fact here on a different case that I just learned this week that I should have learned months ago. There was an incident in Louisville, Kentucky, where a SWAT team drug raid unit hit a house, and there was a woman named Breonna Taylor who lived there. And they hit the house, a no-knock warrant, because it's some kind of high-end drug raid, dangerous person. And it's Breonna Taylor's house. She either draws a gun or fires a gun, and they shot her. And it turns out what the media has been saying is that the police hit the wrong house. That's what I've heard for months about the thing in Louisville. They were running down Rand Paul the other night at the White House. Say her name, Breonna Taylor, because they went to her house. They shot her. She wasn't the druggie. She wasn't on the warrant. All of this, she's a victim. They show her, I think she's like a paramedic or something. Like the image of her, Oprah has put her on the cover of her magazine. Oprah took out billboards, say her name, Breonna Taylor. Why haven't these cops been arrested? Why haven't people done things? This is all I've heard for months. And it's like, I don't know that much about it. Just this week, I heard that the guy that for the warrant, the drug warrant that they were going for this location was either her boyfriend or her ex-boyfriend. So now the story changes. Wait a minute. The target of this warrant, did they hit the wrong house? Because if it was her boyfriend or her ex-boyfriend, like conveniently might be her ex-boyfriend, was he staying there? Was he coming over there? Was he hiding out there because he had a warrant for his arrest? Was she hiding him? Was he slinging dope out of her front door? Now this changes. But all I've heard for months is she's an innocent victim of a no-knock warrant at the wrong house. And that turns out to probably be bullshit.
Well, because it didn't fit the narrative that the MSM wanted to push.
Which is why the battle for the narrative now in Kyle Rittenhouse is so important. Because you can use these as examples to create a crisis and get a couple weeks of media coverage out of it to burn more shit down. Then, by the way, the guy did have a knife. By the way, the guy wasn't there to break up the fight. He was there actually attacking a woman who already had a restraining order against him, and she called the police because he's already hurt her once.
Yes. Well, also speaking about politics, I know you might not want to miss it, but Biden is having a virtual campaign rally today from his basement.
Really, in his basement?
Yeah, well, wherever, but it's virtual. And Trump went to New Hampshire yesterday, and they were basically breaking down the walls with the amount of people that were there.
I'll tell you what, they are smoking Biden out of his basement like crazy. I had heard that apparently the Democrats are getting super nervous about Biden now again.
Yeah, they're already saying he's spending too much time in his basement.
Well, the first clue was like a day or two ago. You started hearing reports. They're like, Biden shouldn't debate Trump again. It's like, really? That's what we're doing here?
Oh, Pelosi said that.
Yeah, Pelosi said it. And it's just like, the Biden campaign in many ways is a lot like I think I've talked about this, like the Romney campaign. They basically, it was like the Saturday Night Massacre at the Democratic primaries. Like all of a sudden one night, all of these, like a bunch of these Democratic candidates all of a sudden said they're leaving the race and endorsing Joe Biden. They're leaving the race and endorsing Joe Biden. Like the party went to them and said, get the fuck out of this goddamn race because you're going to get Bernie Sanders fucking nominated. And it's going to be fucking Biden. Just like how the Republicans were like, it's going to be Romney, fuck you, go away. It's his turn, fuck you, go away. And nobody was really happy with Romney. And then Romney got his ass handed to him. And it's looking like that again for the Democrats. Joe Biden's their Romney.
Well, and then this morning, the top Democrats are saying how Trump is wrong that these Democrat-controlled cities and states let the violence go on. these Democrat mayors, like in Portland and Seattle, they're doing everything they can to stop the rioting and looting. That's the narrative they're trying to push now.
Well, I mean, they can try to push it, but the thing is, they have to sell it and make people believe it, and no one is going to believe that.
Yeah.
I mean,
hey, Danny, I'm just curious, how far do you live from Kenosha? Because we were at dinner, you had mentioned
I could make it in probably about 75, 80 minutes.
Okay, so it's not as close as I thought. Maybe you were like really close to Kenosha. So
no, I'm not.
So, but you are in. Are you in the Kenosha media market?
No,
like the same news that covers Kenosha.
No, we have the Chicago commie networks.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, speaking of the Chicago commie networks, like the Democrats, won't they make in the media? They make all these bullshit arguments. Apparently, this came out of the Chicago. A judge has done some investigation on how Kim Foxx has handled the Jussie Smollett incident, and apparently they've got the Frenchman Jussie Smollett. Apparently, they've got a report on what she did and how this case was handled, and they won't release the report now. And it's like, this is the same media and the same Democrats that you're going to believe.
Well,
we're doing everything they could to stop the riot.
Skinny on that. Do you remember the federal prosecutor Dan Webb? I know you've heard his name.
No.
Well,
I've heard his name, but I do not.
Dan Webb was the special attorney, or much like Mueller was, that was given the light to investigate Kim Foxx. He released a snippet of his report, and in the snippet of the report, she should be disbarred. But yet, the entire report somehow is not released yet.
Is it not released yet, or not going to be released? Because there's two different.
That
probably won't be released until after November. Probably November 3rd is the election, so probably after November.
Well,
4th?
I'm thinking before, because the one that called to have a special prosecutor is a retired Illinois Supreme Court judge. And I don't know the channels of how he got hired to be the special prosecutor, but somehow, some way, it's getting very, very interesting. And right away, as soon as the snippet of the report was released, everyone is racist.
Yeah, because they were all. I'll tell you what. So, okay, if we are in the Red Dawn scenario and we're all now fighting the commies, because I believe we are in full insurrection here. Like I remember Freeze and I were talking about this off pod, I believe. And people talk about the 60s in the United States. They're like, oh yeah, the 60s, whatever, blah, 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 peace, love, happiness. But what happened was the 60s created a radical left-wing movement in the United States through from 69 to about 81 or 82. But let's just say 69 to 80. Bernadine Dorn, Bill Ayers, and all these people, all these names you've heard associated with Barack Obama. But what it also did is it caused policing in the United States in the 1970s was very, very dangerous. All the major cities in the United States, a lot of these major cities, they were so dangerous, and there was a huge crime wave, and then the crack hit, and all these problems, and that's what caused Joe Biden. And the crime bill, and like Clinton and the Bidens and the crime bill, and getting tough on crime, and then crime dropped, and then we end up getting CCW and all that. Between I could be wrong by a year. Between 1969 and say 1980, Danny, do you know how many bombs were set off in the United States, like bombings there were in the United States between say 1969 and 1980? And give me let's say 82.
I haven't a clue, but I would think.
Take a guess.
In the United States, bombs of notoriety or any bombs?
No, all bombs. People set a bomb off for a political purpose between 1969 and 1980. That's a lot of years,
so I'd probably say 200.
1,200.
1,200.
See, I guessed right. I don't know. I probably guessed right around 200 myself.
Wow. It's 1,200. So here's my point. We are now entering into the next phase of the 1970s and law enforcement. And it's going to be, crime is going to go up, policing is going to be bad, and it's, we're going to go through, there's going to be political assassinations, there's going to be political bombings, there's going to be roadside killings, and we are in a full-blown communist insurrection. And this is not going to end in November. And here's the thing, if Joe Biden wins, it's not going to end either, because all the commies are going to be like, we got you elected, do what we say. Like, the Democratic Party right now is holding the country hostage, and they're like, hey, it's a nice country you got there. It'd be a shame if something bad happened to it. I suggest you vote for us in November.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what's going on,
Danny, did you just beat your dog?
No, I think I think someone else did. Let him in, and he wanted a treat.
I heard a bark and then like a smack. I thought, damn.
well, someone else that lives here is pretty rough.
Hey, Danny, what's the name of your dog? You're like 9mm, bam, bam.
Toby. His name is Toby, and he's totally psychotic. You want him?
No.
No.
No. Someone else here. Else here told him to be quiet. Dad's on the phone.
Dad's on the phone. So we've only got about 11 minutes left for a hard break, and I want to cover a few things. I forgot to say this earlier. We had an inquiry on online. When will the secondhand showcases be coming back? And they will be coming back soon. We're finishing up some of the stuff around here at the Armory, and Shooter Supply in Lebanon, Ohio is ready, willing, and able for us to get some of those back. I wanted to talk about a little bit of crime stories, but I just don't know. There's so many good ones that I don't even know what to cover. Jerry Falwell's being blackmailed by the pool boy, and the guillotine outside of Jeff Bezos' house again, or the incest story where the son and the mom were caught having sex by the son's wife. It's like, oh my God.
I don't think that would be a crime story. That probably falls under incest, I would think.
Well, yeah, incest. Well, okay. I'll see. Tell Danny is. Did you? I was reading the story. Hold on, let me find it here. I was reading this story, and Massachusetts mom, 63, and son, 43, are arrested for incest after the son's wife catches them having sex on the couch. And, the story goes on. I guess she called 911, and I guess the police showed up, and I guess they all said they were surprised that the guy wasn't really embarrassed about having the sex. He was more embarrassed about being caught by his wife, which they thought was weird. But then here's the thing I didn't even realize, because I guess I don't live. I was about to make a Kentucky joke, but I don't want to do that. Apparently, incest in Massachusetts is a felony.
Wow.
They've both been charged with a felony, and they can get 20 years. It never occurred to me what incest rates as a charge.
Never occurred to me either. It never really. I never thought about it enough to care what the charge would be.
Yeah. The most non-surprising court-ordered statement in history is a Massachusetts judge ordered the incestuous mom and son to stay away from each other. It's like, yeah.
That would make an interesting Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah, it's just like, oh my God. So, but I just, that's.
Oh, but before I forget, the picture of that 22 mag that you showed me the other day, that was very interesting.
There is a gun. There is a gun that Danny Freeze and I, we all had dinner the other night, and he was interested. Danny being he was interested in a small revolver or small gun that his wife could shoot. And there is a gun. Danny's wife is a pretty small woman, and a lot of the cool kids might poo-poo this, but this Smith & Wesson has a J-frame revolver out, and it's I think it's a lightweight gun, and it's in .22 Magnum. It's the 351. I think it's 351 PD, and I think it holds. Let me see here. I think it holds maybe 7 shots. 351 PD, 22 Magnum revolver, 7 shot. 7-shot Defender. I guess you can get it hammered and hammerless. If you can't get it hammerless, you just cut the hammer off of it. But, at contact distances for self-defense, dude, 22 Magnum is no slouch.
No, 22 Magnum's a good round. I
mean, here's the thing. 22 Magnum would have probably stopped the rioters from if Kyle, whatever his name was, had pulled out a 351 and shot the skateboard kid and the handgun kid, maybe they're the same people, with a 22 Magnum J-frame, it probably would have had the same effect. But for everybody out there that always says, oh yeah, that little AR-15, that little pea shooter, they're all looking at those bullet wounds of on those commies, and it's like,
the guys.
I would be, yeah. I mean, was that kid running tap ammo, or was that just regular old 55 grain cheap Wolf ball ammo? Like, I'm guessing that's probably cheap ammo. I think that's just 22 ball. I think that's just 5.56 ball ammo that just.
Well, speaking about that, that the mainstream media is now saying how he went on a shooting spree.
Yeah.
That.
I saw
yeah. To me, it was.
I saw
it was good. It was good target acquisition.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
I saw a headline that said Kyle. Here's video of Kyle Rittenhouse shooting into the crowd, and it's like, yeah.
Well,
I mean,
he only got the ones that hurt him. No one else. From his back.
I like the headline, the Chiron headline on CNN. I mean, like, they did the one where they had the thing and it was on fire and it was a peaceful protest. Then they did one in Kenosha. They had a guy on camera and there was a fire behind him, and the Chiron below it says fiery but mostly peaceful. And it's just like, I mean, I am to the point now with any of these media companies. Like, look, it's not just CNN and it's not just NBC. Like, here in Cincinnati, we have Channel 5, 9, and 12 and Channel 19. So ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox. And if NBC came up to me and like, hey, we want to do a story on, like the NBC local affiliate, hey, we want to do a story on X, Y, or Z, or 1, 2, and 3. Would you contribute a story? I'd throw them off the property. Like, fuck you. I mean, you are just going to do or say something that's going to make me look bad. And this is not the Jerry Springer show.
They twist it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't even know why you deal with any of these media outlets anymore.
You'd be crazy too. But on another note, I came across a meme. On the left-hand side, it's got a picture of Kyle Rittenhouse, holding his gun, walking down the street. And then on the right-hand side, it's got a picture of a guy, just a regular guy in like jeans and a T-shirt with a ball cap, and he's got a bandana on, and he's got an AK slung across his chest. And the caption is, I guess that settles the AR versus AK debate.
Wow, dude, you got to send me that.
Yeah, send it on the group. Well, and a lot of these comments I'm reading, you know how many people are saying he was carrying an AK? Just
that doesn't surprise me.
Unbelievable. It's like they're ready to post their hatred without any knowledge whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, it's just,
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
And so what happens, this is we were talking about before, the narrative versus the facts. If you can spin the narrative within the first 72 to I don't know, probably 100 hours, you can basically win the news cycle. And then the facts come out later in court, but we've all moved on to the next shiny thing. And so I'll tell you what, we're coming up on a hard break. We've got about a minute 45 seconds left. So is there anything else we need to add before we do the toss on this one?
I think we're good.
Yeah, I'm good.
I guess did everybody enjoy their steak dinner at the restaurant the other night?
Beyond any doubt imaginable. It was fantastic.
Yeah, it was delicious.
We're not going to mention the restaurant, but we have a very, very nice steak restaurant very close to the John 1911 range, and it's a hell of a better upgrade than the little diner we all used to eat at the old place I used to work that was busted for selling horse meat, and that is not a joke.
Oh, yeah.
And this wraps up episode 184 of the John 1911 podcast. If you want to see stories or pictures of links of anything that we discussed on pod, go to our website, john1911.com. That's JOHN1911.com. Remember, it's all about shooting guns and having fun. Everybody, have a good day.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Fiery, but mostly peaceful. Get the fuck out of here.